Hey there, children. I'm going to talk briefly today about something that probably all of us in this class have experienced. So this won't be new to you. Common sense, I think, dictates this. The chapter is chapter 10, and the heading is Parents' Questions About Sex. So without further ado, let's address some of this. That's an ongoing thing over centuries. Kids come around and eventually they want to know stuff. It starts pretty young. I was interested to see that Bueller says that it's not too early in year one to begin this kind of a discussion. Obviously, it's not going to be much of a verbal discussion. It's going to be a show and tell, maybe, if you want to call it that. And I'm not trying to be funny. It's a serious topic. But before you get there, you have questions. Uh, and the questions are things like, when do you start talking to children about this subject? What do you tell them about themselves in terms of their physical stuff, their body? How do you explain contraception and pregnancy? Now, bear in mind, you're not doing this with a 1-year-old. These are questions that supposedly people have prior to the father-son, mother-daughter discussion, whatever the terminology they use now. How do you prepare an older child for puberty? How do you talk about safe sex without condoning sexual activity? And how do you convey values without causing a child to become inhibited? I remember how old was she? I remember a little girl who, I think she was 9, maybe 10. Can't remember now. Somewhere around 9 or 10. And her mom made her start wearing a training bra. And this little girl was devastated. She didn't want to grow up. Her mom came to me and said, I put my daughter in a training bra today, and she burst into tears. And when I asked her why, she said, I don't want to grow up. So there are all kind of things to consider when you talk about puberty and other things sexually related. Again, the textbook, tells you that first year of age, you're not going to have in-depth PhD discussions about this stuff, but you can, I suppose, begin to point out body parts and give them names. I won't go into great detail about that. If we've been through this, we all know how our children are creative and they come up with their own names. So some of them are rather humorous, but it works in their little mind. So the danger here, according to a lot of the literature, is when you don't call it by what it is and you replace a name, then it could be, and this kind of is a stretch in a way, but think about it, it could be imparting a feeling that there's discomfort on your part about body parts. And then that the child develops this attitude that, whoa, this might not be acceptable. And then they enter into a realm of unacceptance almost. It's okay to answer questions that they have and then reassure them that their questions are okay, that they're not talking about something dirty, air quotes. But you don't have to, nor would they understand your explanation for what the function of those body parts is. So a lot of things to consider. And then even in the discussion of pregnancy, toddlers learn the end result of pregnancy through observation. But they don't need to know how it comes about. So if there's a discussion about that, they need to know what it's about, but not how you get there, if that makes sense, and it should make perfect sense. At some point, they will reach an age, late puberty, maybe whenever you decide is the correct time. You know your children better than anyone else does. That it's time to discuss these things from a safety standpoint and many other standpoints, religious standpoints, maybe, whatever the case is. What they can learn from that experience is that love is a part of having children, and that it leads them to understand that they're loved because they are, in fact, a children. Okay, common questions. A few points. If you happen to be a therapist and you had a parent who was a little bit uncomfortable with what it is they were getting ready to have to undertake. So, again, I don't teach you how to counsel. I don't teach you how to counsel in the internship classes, nor in these classes. I give you guidelines. You'll be learning the nuts and bolts when you get to your internship, but this is the groundwork for it. So why am I saying all that? Because this next little section sounds like I'm almost trying to tell you how to do this. In a way I am, but not as you will when you do your practicum and your internship. Some of you are already doing that, by the way. So what do we want to do? All that babbling trying to say this. Answering parents' common questions related to explanation of sexual stuff. Normalize the parents into the understanding that it's quite okay to be nervous about talking about this stuff with your children, because you basically only have maybe an experience with the discussion with your parents, if you even had one. Back in my day, it was 50-50, I think. I never had the birds and bees discussion with my dad, for example. And I'm not too sure my sisters did with my mom. So that's just an example. Others had parents that sat them down and said, okay, here's how it works, pal. You need to ask the parents whether sexual things are discussed in the home and how they feel about that. What's the process? You need to normalize children's questions or behaviors. They're not going to understand in the beginning. I would be interested to know the little girl's reaction to the training bra, what her reaction was when her mom sat her down and they had the discussion, because they were going to do that. And I'm sure, I would guess it could have potentially been pretty traumatic. Don't know how the mom handled it. Wish I did. Role model with your client the things that you want to say. How are you going to do this? Rehearse this. Make them more comfortable with the discussion. Chances are it's going to be a nervous situation anyway, regardless of rehearsal. And then offer age appropriate resources. Parents can read these, and then something that's appropriate for the child's age, something they would understand related to that. And then there's some highlights. Male or female children, male and female children, in their play. When a little boy plays with a doll, does that mean he's confused about his gender? And the answer is not. I'm sure that there would be certain situations where maybe so, but I think you have to view the context of what's going on when a child plays with an opposite sex toy. And that's a crazy term, but we all know those things exist. Baby dolls for girls, I don't know, whatever, airplanes for boys. There you go. How do you explain birth control? I'm sitting down having a discussion, and I want to get across the fact that birth control is out there, maybe. Most probably I do. but I don't want to come across as condoning premarital sex. So again, another heavy duty topic. Should you let your child go to a sex education class at school? What a controversy. I don't have an answer for that other than if you trust the program, if you've done investigations, you folks know how all that works. Is this a legitimately um, organized program? Is there an agenda? You come up with the questions. So it's your homework that would probably help you make that decision. What about sexual abuse? I think this is one of the most important topics in this chapter. And it's the last one we're going to discuss for the day. The prevalence of sexual abuse. I know about this firsthand, not because of my own experience, but when I was a police officer. And I won't be graphic. I'll just tell you that it brought this into focus for me. I went on a call back in 1986, I believe it was 85, 85, 86. And it was sent out as a potential abuse call. And we met the mother outside of the apartment. We went in, and I caught the man in the act of raping his 13-year-old daughter. And that brought sexual abuse very traumatically, I suppose, into my view. He had already done his thing with his 5-year-old. So I'm not trying to upset you. I'm just telling you that it's out there. And we all see the news reports. So maybe I shouldn't have told you the story, but makes the point I want to make. It's out there. It needs to be discussed with children. They need to be prepared. I'm sure you know the statistics that very frequently it's a product of some relationship between a close family member and a child. So, not telling you to distrust your family at all. I'm just saying that those are the stats. Okay, so hate ending lectures on negative notes, but it's real life, and we all live in it. So I'll be in touch with you again this week, a couple more times to wrap this chapter up. All right, hope you have a better day. Sorry.